Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Mayhem live on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It is Michael Fletcher alongside my good friend Anthony Florio. And Anthony, tonight was a monumental night, especially when it came to NXT. We are definitely going to get into it, but before we do that, we need to start off with AEW Fyter Fest Night 2, and once again from the Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. And we started it off with a big match. The AEW World Tag Team titles were on the line as it was Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, and they went up against Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. And when it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 11 minutes and 32 seconds, and still the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Elite, Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page. A very good opener to Fyter Fest Night 2, and a very solid match to say the very least. I could give this easily about 2 3/4 to 3 stars. It got a good ample amount of time. It was a solid match for what it was worth, and it was really solid for the way that the body of work went for both men. Both teams did really well, but Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, some way, somehow gets the job done and successfully defend the World Tag Team title. So congratulations to them. Anthony Florio, it's yours. 2 3/4 to 3 stars for me.
Solid 3 for me, MF. I mean, great way to start it off. And, it's always fun when you start things off with a World Tag Team Championship matchup, or any championship matchup for that matter. But no, this is, as we like to say a lot on this show, this was a fun little sprint. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, you nailed almost everything there, MF. I mean, this was I had a good feeling about the private party giving Omega and Page a run for their money. They sure shooting did, and I was thoroughly. I mean, those two young men continue to impress me. Every time I see them, and I got a feeling that maybe one day in the very near future, we could see those two young men become the World Tag Team Champions. Not yet. With a little more seasoning, I think they'll get their day. But it was precisely what you would expect from these two athletic, hardworking teams. So that's really all there is to say on it. Fun opener, fun little sprint to start things off here on night 2 of Fyter Fest. So solid 3, maybe teetering on 3 1/4. I think that's the correct rating for this bout, MF. So with all that being said, let's move on to our next matchup.
And it was Joey Janela going one-on-one with Lance Archer. When it was all said and done, Lance Archer gets the win in 11 minutes and 17 seconds. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. This was not quite the squash I was expecting this to be. I mean, the bad boy put up a fight. I mean, he gave Archer a run for his money. I mean, there was no doubt in the mind. I mean, I had a feeling that we all knew Archer was going to win, but I just didn't think that they were actually going to make the bad boy look good. But then again, it's Joey Janela. I mean, up and coming star, like I said, that's a young man who's got a bright future ahead of him. But at the end, Janela was exactly the gutsy babyface to program in this match opposite Archer. He took a hellish beating, but kept fighting, pushing through the pain and punishment, and nearly scoring the upset on more than one occasion. As Archer found himself refocused by Jake the Snake, who coached from ringside, he was able to overcome the tenacity and resiliency of his opponent, not to mention the interference from Sonny Kiss, and pick up the victory. Commentary team put Archer over strong after the bout, reminded fans that he was able to capture any title at any time, and the result is the reheating of a star who looked to be the next big thing in AEW not all that long ago. I will give this about 2.5 to 3 stars. I think that's the correct rating for this match. So nothing more to say. Onward and upward for the Murder Hawk monster. So, speaking of future champions, MF, there's a guy in Lance Archer. He's going to be a future champion. Not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I there's no doubt about it. Lance Archer looked really good, but give it up for Joey Janela for giving him a heck of a fight in this one. I'll give this about 2.5 stars. I thought it was a solid match. I think a lot at the end of the day, Archer needed the win more than Janela. Even though Janela looked good in the match, but Archer needed this win tonight because of the fact that he kind of really needs to become that dominating monster of a heel, because right now, with everything going on in AEW, he needs that type of a moment. So, right after that, then we had ourselves a promo segment that was done in the ring by Taz and by Brian Cage, and they introduced a brand new belt to AEW called the FTW Championship. Now, apparently this belt has been very well known in the indie circuit. I don't know this belt very well, but there was a lot of people going crazy about this title, about the FTW title. So, I don't know what this belt is about. Apparently this is a belt that was from the indie scene, and it is very recognizable. It's a recognizable title. I don't know if this is a new belt, if AEW have acquired this belt, or if this is a belt that Brian Cage has had from a previous promotion. I don't know the gist of it, but I hope AEW does not make it does not start saturating with too many titles. I think that's the wrong thing you want to do. I like the TNT title. I like, maybe this could be like the equivalent of like the United States title in WWE, the FTW belt, to be like to have like 2 secondary belts. I just hope they don't start trying to saturate the company, because you're still working your way up. But I don't know. Anthony, what's your feeling about it?
It looks like a belt that Taz created. I mean, you saw the Taz colors on that sucker, but yeah, I mean, he obviously wanted to put Cage as the unbeatable monster, which obviously, of course, I mean, but the promo by Taz, though, that was great. I mean, I think he is to AEW what Paul Heyman is to WWE. You know, money on the mic. I mean, he never cuts a bad promo. Taz was great on the mic as he always is, but I think the last thing AEW needed right now was another championship. Sure, it's not recognized by the company, and it's just a way for Taz to play mind games with Jon Moxley ahead of the big world title match next week at Fight for the Fallen, but it introduces the belt as a prop, and that is almost never necessary. Not to mention that Brian Cage, a former world heavyweight champion in Lucha Underground and Impact Wrestling, is hardly what you would call a quote-unquote renegade in the sport of professional wrestling. The angle here didn't really work as well as another straight fire promo from Taz would have to put over next week's match. But I'm sure those who love wrestling championship belts, you know, like I do, I mean, considering I now have 3 of them, they probably loved it, though. So that's really all there is to say on that. So interesting kind of belt, but it's not really a relevant belt, though. But who knows? Maybe Brian Cage at this time next week will be talking about him holding the most prestigious title in all Elite Wrestling. So very possible. You don't know. So we'll see. He's done it. He did it in Lucha Underground. I don't really remember the Lucha Underground. I know MF does. I damn sure remember what he did in Impact Wrestling when he finally won that title. So we'll wait and see. So that's really all there is to say on that, MF. Solid segment, though. That's all there is to say. So let's just move on.
All right, and then we move on to the 8-man tag team fight. It was the Young Bucks and Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, and they went up against the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Bros. And when it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 16 minutes and 27 seconds was the Lucha Bros, Butcher and the Blade. Anthony Florio, I think we could call this the fight of the night.
Yeah, I think. 4.25 to 4.5 stars. The action here was unmatched by anything we were likely to see the rest of this show, but it was the storytelling that elevated it to the rating that we have right now. The Bucks and FTR surprising themselves by their seemingly flawless chemistry, only to prove their own worst enemy following a moment of miscommunication, was an excellent bit of booking and furthers the tension between the two teams. Their eventual showdown is going to be a 5-star classic and perhaps a match of the year candidate. Pentagon and Phoenix picking up the win sets them up for a showdown, a World Tag Team title program with Page and Omega, which could be every bit as excellent as AEW continues to prove why tag team wrestling may be its strongest suit here in year 2 of this promotion. So I don't know what else there is to say, though, man. I mean, holy crap, that was insane. But then again, we had a feeling it was going to be. This was one of the two. This was really a 2-match show. Really, this was one of the two big matches that we were looking forward to on this second night of Fyter Fest. We had a feeling both of them were going to deliver. Spoiler alert: the other one delivered too. But I think this one might have been just a smidgen better, although the other one was just as amazing. And we'll get into that at the end. But for right now, 4.25 to 4.5 stars. You can easily call this the fight of the night, no doubt about it. Although you can make an argument for the main event as well. Just saying. So, nothing more to say. MF, this was an MF special right here. I mean, these are your kind of guys. I mean, a little bit of some Haas stuff, some aerial ability as well. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. I hope 4.25 to 4.5 is the appropriate rating.
I'm going to go 4.5. I agree. To me, this was the fight of the night. This is my fight of the night. So I thought this was an excellent match. I thought this was great body of work, great psychology, great storytelling, and you can't go wrong with any 4 of these teams. Butcher and the Blade shined. Lucha Bros. If anybody knows Lucha Underground, Triple A, everybody knows Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. are absolutely madmen. They are crazy. Young Bucks, okay, I got a love-hate relationship with Young Bucks. I do. I honestly do. I got a love-hate relationship with Young Bucks. Sometimes I think they're great for the business. Other times I feel like Cornette and they're crap. That's just me in a nutshell. FTR, when you talk about Harwood and Wheeler, I mean, what is there to say? I've been very high on them since they were the Revival in WWE. And everybody knows that that's my style of wrestling. I loved FTR. I like them better than the Bucks. I think they are that much more superior as a tag team. And I know a lot of people are going to start piling on me. Either some of them are going to agree with me, or there's going to be others that will pile on me saying, you're out of your mind. The Bucks are the best and everything else, like Ferreira and some of the others. Because of the fact that I've been very vocal about them ever since the days of New Japan. Like, I've been really, really, really stingy about the Young Bucks. I don't know why. There's something about them I just don't like. And that's just me. You could say I'm kind of being a little harsh, and I get it. I won't fight you on that, because I tend to be a little harsh on certain individuals in professional wrestling. The Young Bucks are definitely one of them. I will agree. Or I'll give you that. So, with that said, we're just going to move right along. Next up we had was a 2-on-1 handicap match. Kenzie Page and Kylan King, and they went up against Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose destroys them in 2 minutes and 11 seconds. This was just a showcase fight for Nyla Rose. This was practically the ultimate cool-down fight. We really don't need to get into this one. We'll move right along. Then we had a six-man tag team fight, as it was Stu Grayson, Colt Cabana, and the Exalted One, Brody Lee, representing the Dark Order, and they went up with all three members of SCU, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, and Christopher Daniels. When it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 11 minutes and 27 seconds was the Dark Order. Okay, I mean, decent fight, good match. 2.25 to 3 stars. I should say 2 3/4 to 3 stars. This was a fun little match, a nice little sprint, like Anthony would like to say. But the Dark Order needed the win. They gave them a nice little win here. You can tell that this was one that they just needed the victory, and I feel bad for SCU. They were coming out so hot, so strong, so everything. Now they're just losing left and right. It's like they can't catch a break lately, and I don't know. I kind of feel like there's a disconnect with the guys. There's a disconnect right now. Scorpio Sky, Frankie, and Christopher Daniels, they're just not on the same page right now. And I'm really starting to feel like there might be a breakup coming up soon. I'm not going to say when, but I'm starting to feel like Daniels might be the odd man out here. So I don't know why. I'm starting to sense it. Anthony, it's yours.
Sorry, MF. I can only give this 2.5 stars for me. This probably should have been better, but the closing moments were messy. What was not the story of Cabana and the Dark Order working seamlessly en route to victory? Will it cost Cabana his friendships? It appears so if the closing moments are any indication, but with his professional life hitting its stride, thanks to his association with Lee and the Dark Order, it doesn't appear to matter. With that said, Cabana has not pledged allegiance to Mr. Brody Lee, creating intrigue for fans going forward. That is evidence of effective storytelling. But fight here was, all right, just all right for me, as I would like to say in the more words of Randy Jackson from Idols. So 2.5 stars for me. So with that being said, MF, I just want to check something here.
It's the main event. It's the main event. The main event of Fyter Fest Night 2 and the main event of the entire event for AEW. This is probably where it would have been Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage for the AEW World Title. But as many of you guys know, that has been pushed off to next week to Fight of the Fallen, because Moxley decided that he wanted it to take an extra week. He did test negative for COVID-19. That was the one thing that we were all afraid of. But Moxley did test negative. He is okay. But for him, he decided, just give us one more week. Just push it off for a week, and we'll fight next week we'll do the title fight next week. Everybody was cool with it, no problem. They had a good main event substitute anyway. Chris Jericho goes one-on-one with freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Jericho wins the match in 18 minutes even. Anthony Florio, it is all yours.
Second best fight of the night here. Solid 4 to 4.25 stars. Wow. If there was any doubt or concern that Orange Cassidy could rise to the occasion and deliver a performance befitting a genuine main event character, and outside of his unique character, he silenced it tonight. Cassidy sold his ass off for Jericho, building great babyface heat until it was time to fire up and make his comeback. There were several spots late in which it appeared he may do the unthinkable, defeating Jericho, even as Santana and Ortiz did everything in their power to make sure that didn't happen. And in the process, Jericho's heel persona was put over exponentially. Here was an all-time great who essentially laughed off the idea of Cassidy, only to be in a physical war with him that he nearly lost more than once. And he will brag and gloat over his win, as he should, but there will always be that reminder in the back of his mind that Orange Cassidy gave him every bit of the fight a Jon Moxley or Kenny Omega would have. For a show originally slated to have a different main event, this one lived up to the moment and delivered beyond expectations. Most importantly, it confirmed Cassidy's star, and everyone in AEW have to be happy to have that charismatic babyface on their roster for the foreseeable future. So, I don't know what else there is to say. 4 to 4.25 stars. It was the second best fight of the night. I mean, but then again, MF, you could really make an argument for this to be the fight of the night as well. But just something about that 8-man might have been just a smidgen better. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I kind of give the 8-man a little bit of the Duke on this one. I can only give this like a solid 4. I thought it was a good match. I liked it. Orange Cassidy finally broke through. I thought this was his breakout moment more than anything else. I think finally the fans of AEW got to see what I've seen, what a lot of my friends have seen in New England. This is the real Orange Cassidy. Yes, he has his antics. Yes, he has the you know that gimmick that he does. But when push comes to shove, when you really want him to push in a really big match, this guy can shine. And I think people will get him tonight. Not everybody will. I don't think he won everybody over, because there will be some people, there'll be some naysayers, there'll be some detractors about the Orange Cassidy gimmick, the attitude, whatever he brings. But you have to admit, this was without a doubt his best performance in AEW. So definitely very well. This was a good show. This was a well done, wrapped up show. Fyter Fest was done really good. Solid matches tonight. There was a couple of moments where it wasn't so great. The handicap match, you can even say Anthony was right about the 6-man tag. That was somewhat of a mess, but it was bookended by 2 solid matches. The tag team fight, the tag team title fight at the beginning. You had a great middle match with the 8-man tag, and you had a great closing match with Jericho versus Cassidy. So all in all, it was a good show, but there was some parts that it was definitely a miss. There was definitely a miss in the middle, but at the end of the night, it was a great outcome. Good night for AEW. Solid show. Anthony, I'll give us your final thought.
Indeed. Great show here tonight. Not a surprise given the content of this show here tonight. It would have. I mean, I'm glad that we don't do ratings, because it's very tough to put a rating on a show, whether it's good or bad. But I don't know what I would have given it for a rating. It definitely would have been a high mark, no doubt about it. But Night 2 killed it. I mean, rarely does a show have a layout where everything that happens matters. Yet the AEW seems to be able to do it on a consistent level. From the little things like Colt Cabana standing first behind the Dark Order, then being invited to stand side by side with them, to the larger-than-life moments like that Canadian Destroyer from in the ring to the outside. Everything matters. The 8-man tag relied more on story than flash, yet didn't diminish the in-ring talent that all 8 men have. And Dax Harwood was an amazing presence throughout the entire contest. Even smaller roles such as Grayson, he's shown through the event, making you not only watch but appreciate. The main event felt like a main event, and although there wasn't anything they had to prove, they still went out there to prove something, that being that Orange Cassidy is not just a one-trick gimmick pony and has skills that made him more than capable of being a part of the colony there. Another of those little things was the entire Dark Order match, specifically with Lee and Colt Cabana. It's a slow burn of manipulation. It's not obvious, but it's also not overt. It's just good storytelling where character, writer, and audience all play their part and write it till the end. Amazing event here tonight. But my friends, I got to be honest with you. If you thought this was amazing, wait till you see what we have to say. I mean, you thought Fyter Fest Night 2 for AEW was great? That's nothing compared to how great Night 2 of NXT's Great American Bash, including a history-making moment at the end of the show. And MF will most certainly be channeling his inner Gorilla Monsoon when we get to that big moment at the end. But MF, it's time for Night 2 of the Bash.
And we started it off with a women's match. It was Candice LeRae versus Mia Yim in a no holds barred street fight. This got crazy, but Candice LeRae, the queen, the I guess you could say the queen of wrestling, gets the win, taking down the HBIC in a very, very solid match. I mean, 15 minutes, 51 seconds. This was a red hot start. This was a jump off for the Great American Bash Night 2. This was a solid match. I really enjoyed it. This was easily, for me, 3.5 stars. Like 3.5 to 3.75 of a star. This was fun. This was brutal. This was nasty. This was everything that the rivalry was all about, and it came ahead tonight. Definitely a great... It's better that Candice got the victory here, because that actually elevates her up the ladder to possibly get a shot at the women's title. As many of you guys know, down the line, it will be Tegan Nox versus Io Shirai. But the next contender, if Io gets by Tegan, you definitely have to say Candice LeRae has now put herself in prime position to be the next challenger for the NXT women's title. But this was a great jump off. The heat, the rivalry, the ugliness, it was beautiful. They told a great story. Yes, there was some sloppy moments in the match. Let's not kid ourselves. There was some sloppiness, but this was great. Anthony, go.
Second best fight of the night, MF. I got to say 3.5 to 4 stars. Before I go into my review here, a couple quick things. First off, MF, we don't have to wait long to see Io Shirai and Tegan Nox. We're getting that next week. We're gonna see that next week on NXT. Io Shirai, Tegan Nox for the NXT Women's Championship. So we don't have to wait long. And secondly, now as you all know, on my show, Ridiculously Raw, I cover Impact Wrestling, as you all know. Last night, Impact Wrestling, they have this show after Impact Wrestling goes off the air. It's called Impact in 60, which is, some of the best matches throughout Impact's history. And last night they focused on Rosemary, and they showed 4 Rosemary matches, and 2 of them featured Mia Yim when she was in Impact Wrestling as Jade. They're 2 iconic battles for the Knockouts Championship. First inside the steel cage. But the other match that really stands out, and this is where I'm going with this. MF, do you remember when Rosemary and Jade battled for the Knockouts Championship on an Impact Wrestling episode in that Knockouts Monsters Ball match? They showed.
I remember that, yes, very much so.
And Rosemary, of course, went over and successfully defended the Knockouts Championship. Where I'm getting at is that Mia Yim does have hardcore match experience. And when they showed that match last night, I'm like, yeah, here's a nice little appetizer. This is a nice little appetizer for the street fight. And that aired back on January 26th of 2017. That was 3.5 years ago. That was back when it was on Pop TV, Impact Wrestling. But anyways, 3.5 to 4 stars. I gotta say, this was the second best fight of the night here. This match started hot and never slowed down. The build-up for the feud has been great, and the match lived up to the hype. LeRae is a well-known badass who has proved herself capable of putting on hardcore matches, so it was not surprising to see her do so well in this bout. The head baddie in charge was not about to be outshined and had just as many painful-looking spots as her opponent. Matches like this can be difficult because 1 or 2 missed spots can take the crowd out of it. Luckily, that did not happen here. The only minor complaint with this bout was how both superstars seemed to recover from big spots a little too quickly. Other than that, this was a fantastic match, like MF said. So I got to say, second best fight of the night here, MF. 3.5 to 4 stars. Great way to start it off. So let's move on.
And then the next fight of the night we had was Bronson Reed going one-on-one with the Supreme Athlete Tony Nese. And it was Bronson Reed winning the match in 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Anthony, I think we could say perfect cool-down match.
Absolutely perfect. 2 stars, I believe. I think that would be the correct rating for this. 2, maybe 2.25 at best. This may not have been one of the major selling points for this show, but it was a good match between 2 guys who have been impressive in recent performances. Bronson Reed has great physicality for a guy his size and has built up a lot of momentum over the past couple of months. It's too bad the Premier Athlete cannot get into the same groove. So that's really all I can say on that. 2.25 at best. MF, your thoughts?
I could give it 2.25. This was a nice little sprint. I mean, this was a solid match. And at the end of the day, yeah, I totally agree with what you said. This was a very good match. And like I said, it was the perfect cool-down fight. Well, the next match we had wasn't a cool-down. It definitely revved up a little bit as Johnny Gargano went up against Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Gargano wins the match in 14 minutes and 18 seconds. Solid 3.5 stars. Very good match. Very good spotlight. Gargano is great in the ring. I think we all can say that. But Isaiah Swerve Scott, you got to give credit where credit's due. Tonight, he really shined in the spotlight against a guy like Gargano and really pushed Johnny to the limit. Obviously, Johnny gets the win. That was no doubt at the end. But you got to give credit where credit's due to Isaiah Swerve Scott. Swerve Scott really shined here tonight and really had, I could openly say, a breakout moment for himself against Johnny Wrestling, and he does that? Well done, my friend. 3.5 stars for me. Anthony, go.
I think you could say it's a lot. I mean, you brought up the breakout moment. I mean, you can make an argument that, just like we saw with Orange Cassidy against Chris Jericho, this was Swerve Scott's big moment. Now, MF, I'm sure you remember when Isaiah Swerve Scott was at one time the Major League Wrestling Fusion World Heavyweight Champion when he was Shane Strickland. I'm sure you remember that, being the Fusion mark you are. And, 3.5 stars. I 100% agree. This was the third best fight of the night. These are 2 of the most athletic superstars in NXT, but for some reason, it felt like they were holding back a little during this bout. It never quite reached the level of intensity we have come to expect from Gargano's matches, especially since he turned heel. Swerve continues to be a bright spot in NXT. Now, this was not his overall best outing to date, but it was still an impressive performance against the guy who has become known as one of the biggest workhorses on the Black and Gold brand. So 3.5 stars. I 100% agree with the rating. This was the third best fight of the night for me. So nothing more to say, MF. Let's continue on.
I will say this. I think the reason why they didn't want to go too much because they didn't want to overshadow the main event. Because of the fact that the world was waiting for the main event. So they wanted it to make it better. Because I believe if Gargano and Swerve would have given complete their all and given them everything, then that fight probably would have been even better. They probably would have overshadowed the main event. That's almost like, and I'm gonna say this, they didn't want to do Steamboat and Savage and overshadow Hogan and Giant at WrestleMania 3. That's the one thing that you were afraid of, because two guys like that, they easily could have overshadowed Adam Cole versus Keith Lee. And NXT did not want to do that, especially tonight, because of the magnitude of the match. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So, next up we had was the six-man tag team fight, as it was Santos Escobar, Raul Mendoza, and Joaquin Wilde. They went up against Drake Maverick, Tyler Breeze, and Fandango. And when it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 10 minutes and 38 seconds, Santos Escobar, Raul Mendoza, and Joaquin Wilde. El Hijo del Fantasma gets the victory. Anthony Florio, it is yours.
Fourth best fight of the night here. Solid 3 stars is my rating for this effort. This match was booked, so Maverick and Escobar did not make any contact until the time was right. This meant Breezango, Wilde, and Mendoza had a lot of time in the ring. Breezango has only been part of this feud for a short time, but they worked well with Maverick as a trio against Legado del Fantasma. The passion from Maverick has been what has kept this feud going from day one. He never ceases to be entertaining, even when he is putting somebody else over. This was a fun bout, but it wasn't on the level as some of the other matches from the show. It never felt like anything was going to be settled in this encounter, so there were no stakes. But there's no question about it. We don't know. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I do believe in my heart of hearts, we will get that big money match with Santos Escobar and Drake Maverick down the line for the Cruiserweight Championship. I could probably see that going down SummerSlam weekend if they still decide to do the takeover, even if it's going to be at Full Sail or the Performance Center. I mean, because unfortunately we heard that sad news about SummerSlam earlier in the week. So, it's heartbreaking for all of us, especially for me and MF, because we are well within the New England area, and what a shame that. I mean, that would have been so much fun if we could have done that, but maybe another day. But for right now, it's a solid 3 stars. But no doubt, MF, one day in the very near future, I think we're still going to get that big money Cruiserweight title match with Escobar and Maverick down the line. How about it?
I agree. I think we should. And it's going to be a great match when they do finally get it to go. So, 3 stars for me. This was a solid fight. Like you said, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle because of how many big matches there were tonight. And this was just a solid battle more than anything else. Next up we had was Mercedes Martinez versus Santana Garrett. And Mercedes Martinez wins the match in 2 minutes and 39 seconds. All right. This one was actually a little more surprising than anything else. I thought Mercedes was just going to steamroll over Santana, and Santana actually gave her a little bit of a fight, even though the outcome was not in doubt. But Mercedes did really well. Santana looked good in her performance. I mean, she looked a lot better than I thought she was going to do. And look, again, another perfect cooldown fight, a nice match that Mercedes can get over. So I got really nothing more to add. So Anthony, it's yours.
I would probably say maybe a no rating, maybe 1 at the absolute best. But by the way, shout out to our dear friend Matt Ward, because as you all know, Matt Ward has a big time thing for Santana Garrett, and I'm sure his eyes lit up like a kid at Christmas when he saw Santana Garrett strut her stuff down to the ring there. So, but anyways, sorry Ward, your girl got dominated. This was a little more than a squash match, but it did a good job establishing Mercedes Martinez as a dangerous competitor in the women's division. Santana Garrett has been struggling to build up momentum, and this bout did not help her cause. She has plenty of time, but she needs that first big win to really get herself going. And that's really all there is to say on that. And next week on NXT, as we all know, we're going to see Io Shirai and Tegan Nox for the Women's Championship. And we're also going to see Damian Priest and Cameron Grimes settle the score. So those are the two big ones to watch out for next week. But MF, there's nothing more to say. I mean, I think I got to do it the Jesse the Body Ventura way, and you know where I'm going with this. I've done this so many times, not just on our wrestling shows, but also on our sports shows as well. This next match, truly, I mean, I'm trying to get it down pat here. It's what the words main event were meant for, because next up, folks, it is the main event. Brother, it don't get no bigger.
It doesn't. It is the NXT's Ultimate Challenge. The main event of the Great American Bash. Title for title. Champion versus champion. Winner takes all. The NXT North American Champion, the Limitless Keith Lee, versus the NXT World Champion Adam Cole, representing the Undisputed Era. When it was all said and done, the winner of the bout, in a commercial-free 19 minutes, 55 seconds, and now the undisputed NXT North American World Champion is the Limitless Keith Lee. We are basking in his glory tonight. He has made history. History was made at Full Sail University. Keith Lee has won both belts. And more importantly, it looks like we already got the first challenger, because look who also was admiring the moment while Keith Lee had the tripod confetti and the fireworks going off in the ring. There was a certain individual, Killian Cross, and his beautiful dame, Scarlett Bordeaux, and it looked like they were definitely very impressed with the new champion, Anthony Florio. First off, props to NXT, props to USA, or props to WWE for making the right decision by making this commercial free. And two, history was indeed made. We have ourselves a new champion.
And I'll tell you, MF, I think you should give some props to me here, because I heard about the spoiler, but here's the thing. I never read it. I did not read the spoiler. I did not want to know what the spoiler was. I mean, I know almost everybody knew it. MF, you even said you knew it. And you remember, I vehemently said in our messenger, do not spoil it.
And I knew it too. And the thing was, I wasn't going to.
Good.
But I did. But I'll say this. I saw the video that, or the photo that everybody was talking about, this leaked photo. It was on Instagram, and I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. So I already knew what happened.
And the spoiler was Keith Lee winning, is that right?
The spoiler was Keith Lee winning. So yes, it was. We were hoping that it wasn't, but we knew it was. But the thing was, they were trying to throw the curveball by saying, "Oh no, we made multiple endings. That's not the real one." Unfortunately, there wasn't multiple endings. That was the ending,
and it was the correct one. If I'm going to be honest. I only wish Michael Bullock was here, because, I mean, as we all know, Michael Bullock is Mr. NXT, and I know, I mean, I would have thrown it to him perfectly. I would have had a lot of fun throwing it to him when it was his turn, but it's a damn shame he's not with us this evening. But maybe, I don't know if I'm going to be having a SmackDown chat with him on Friday night, but if we do, I will most certainly bring it up, and, you know, we'll try to get his thoughts on that on Friday. But for right now, oh my goodness, this was the fight of the night. 4.25 to 4.5 stars. As expected, Keith Lee and Adam Cole stole the show to close the Great American Bash with a physical contest that took both men to their limit. Even when he is facing guys who are literally twice his size, Adam Cole always manages to seem like he can realistically defeat his opponents with sheer skills and athleticism. The pacing of this match is part of what made it work so well. It never felt like either guy was making a comeback at the wrong time or recovering from a big move too early. They sold everything well, took their time to make sure every spot landed. Keith Lee winning was absolutely the right call. He is a great representative for the brand and will help make both championships look more prestigious. And let's be realistic. If Adam Cole had gone over, I think there would have been a lot of riots, first off, considering Keith Lee is an IWC darling. Let's not kid himself. I'm sure the entire IWC was marking out. And I think there was one in particular who I believe was probably bouncing around her room like Tigger, and that's our girl Luigi PS3. I'm sure she must have been going bananas, 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 when Keith Lee picked up the win there. But yeah, I mean, if Cole had won, I mean, there would have been no other legitimate baby faces to beat him. I mean, Keith Lee was the perfect babyface to get it done. Adam Cole's historic run ends at 403 days, the longest run of any NXT champion in history. I don't know if Keith Lee's going to come close to that. I'm not sure, but you know what? I don't think he is going to come close to that. Because I think they're going to let him run with it for a bit, but I would not be surprised if Karrion Kross is the one who ultimately dethrones him and takes the NXT championship from him. And I think that'll probably be at the Takeover weekend, SummerSlam weekend. I think that's probably going to be the main event. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it goes. But as for Adam Cole, baby, well, I think it's upward and onward for him. I think he's on his way to the main roster. I hope it's a package deal with the Undisputed Era. And if that's the case, gentlemen, I would not mind having all of you or any form of you on Team Red. There's no doubt about it. You guys would be a welcome addition and a breath of fresh air to Monday Night Raw. We need some heels. We need some heels badly on Monday Night Raw. We need some big time heels. Especially if they continue on with Drew McIntyre as the WWE champion, which I kind of hope they do, especially with the news I heard about his possible SummerSlam opponent. So, but man alive, we'll wait and see what happens with the UE and Adam Cole. I wouldn't mind having Adam Cole. I wouldn't mind having him on Monday Night Raw, like I said. But again, if it's a package deal and I get the entire UE, that's a score for me, a big coup for me. But then again, I'm sure MF would be just as welcoming when it comes to Team Blue and Friday Night SmackDown. But we'll get into that another day. But for right now, it's not about Adam Cole. It's all about Keith Lee, the Limitless One. You can make an argument he's NXT Superstar of the Year. No question about it. What a year it's been for him already. The week before Royal Rumble week, he won the North American Championship from Roderick Strong back on the January 22nd edition of NXT. And then some 5.5 months later, he can now call himself not just the North American champion, but also the NXT champion. Well done, sir. Well done. If I had a hat on, I would definitely tip it off to you, my friend. No doubt about it. I mean, it's been a rough little bit of time for Keith Lee. His well-known trainer recently passed away. So you can make an argument this might have been a feel-good moment in that regard, but let's be realistic. Cole had that thing way too long, and it was about time for someone else to hold it, and there was no other man for the job, no other perfect man for the job than the Limitless One. I cannot wait to see what kind of NXT champion the Limitless One will be. We're all basking in the glory tonight. Like I said, I wish Bullock was here. He would have had a lot of fun with this. I would have had a lot of fun setting him up for the intro there. But It is what it is. But it would have been a proud Papa moment from Michael Bullock, no doubt about it, because this is his show. So congratulations, Keith Lee. And just like all of us in the IWC say, whenever one of our heroes, gets the big moment here, you deserve it. You deserve it. No doubt about it. So nothing more to say. MF, 4.25, 4.5 stars. Fight of the night. History made. It's all yours, Monsoon.
Yes, indeed, and what a way to close the show, and what a moment for Keith Lee. I'm so happy for him. He is definitely gonna be a great champion, no doubt about it. I think we're all just thrilled that he's won the title, and now, like you said, his career will never be the same now. So, I mean, 4.5 stars, great way to close the show. NXT wins the night. I gotta say it, NXT wins the night. The main event alone gives them the victory. I mean, you had 3, maybe 4 good matches over AEW. I just feel like they just had a better outcome. I'm only a little angry. The only thing I'm angry is that the result of the main event got leaked. That's the only thing that I'm a little upset about, is that I was hoping that wasn't the outcome, and it was. That sucks. But at the end of the day, I'm happy. I'm thrilled. NXT, you did it again. To me, you won. So, one more point for NXT. Anthony, your final thoughts.
Great show. Great episode of TV tonight. The 2 hours mostly flew by. Everything had a purpose. There were some really good matches in there. Keith Lee winning was a big deal and a strong capper for the 2 nights. NXT hit a home run with both shows. There's no question about it. And MF, you're absolutely spot on. This was indeed the better show. And 4 quality matches. I mean, main event stole the show like we all knew it would. That women's street fight was incredible. Gargano delivers again, even though it wasn't quite the 5-star performance we're used to from him, heel or not. And then throwing a solid 6-man with Legado del Fantasma, Breezango, and Drake Maverick. Those 4 matches delivered. Bronson Reed and Tony Nese had a solid little sprint. The only real downside was the women's, but the Mercedes Martinez squash of Santana Garrett. But other than that, man, NXT, you did it again. Like I said, and then I know I sound like a broken record, but boy, do I wish Bullock was here, because I know Bullock would have basked in this glory. This probably would have been his biggest moment in the sun since NXT won Survivor Series last year. So, but instead of saying I'm humbled, I'm impressed, I hate you, get out, a la Ben Stein, I am serious when I say I am humbled and impressed, and I mean that in a good way. So, you wonder why NXT is the premier brand in WWE? They proved it here tonight. So, well done, folks. So, Shirai and Knox for the women's title, Priest and Grimes. We'll wait and see. So, nothing more to say, MF. Let's put the bow on this and set the table for the return of the Cerebral Smack Talk after a 1-week hiatus.
Yes, indeed, and it will be back this upcoming Friday. So Friday night we will have another edition of Cerebral Smack Talk, as we will be recapping SmackDown Live, and of course for all you NJPW fans, New Japan Pro Wrestling, we will set the table for the finals of the New Japan Cup. We will break down the bracket, because there's a lot to break down. We got to go through the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the road to the finals, because the championship match, the final match, is going to be on the 11th. So basically on that Saturday, on the Saturday going into Sunday, we will be previewing the final going. So who's going to be at the final? Who's going to have, and who's going to be having the opportunity to fight against Naito for the both belts? You'll just have to wait and find out. So with that said, thank you, Anthony Florio, as always. Thank you guys, as always. Like the video, leave a comment at the bottom, share with all your friends on all social media platforms. And as always, we will see you on until we see you again on Friday night. This is good old MF Michael Fletcher saying so long, everybody.
Goodbye.